us an update on where your thinking is right now with Iran, if you have made a final decision on what you want to do?
I mean, I certainly can't tell you that, but we do have very big, powerful ships heading in that direction, as you know. I can't tell you,
Okay.
But I hope they negotiate something that's acceptable.
Saudi Arabia's defense minister reportedly said that if the U.S. backs off a strike, that will only embolden Iran. And what's your reaction to that, sir?
Well, some people think that, and some people don't. If you could make a negotiated deal that would be satisfactory with no nuclear weapons, they should do that. But I don't know that they will. But they are talking to us, seriously talking to us.
Are you giving Iran any kind of deadline to make a deal before potentially taking
Only
military
they
action?
know for sure.
Have you communicated that to them
Yeah,
directly?
I have.
Do you have a timeline for when you're going to pull back potentially the federal presence there?
No, we'll see how it all works out. They have to float someplace. They might as well float near Iran. But it's a rough situation going on. So I stopped 837 people, as you know, last week from being hung. They were going to hang 830. It was all set. And I mean, I'm looking at the people behind me. They're saying, what kind of racing's a lot nicer than that. They were going to hang 837 people, and I told them, if you do it, you're going to pay a price like nobody's ever paid before. They pulled back. I appreciated that. But a lot of people are being killed, so we'll see what happens.
We have a big force going toward Iran.
Military activity around Iran is accelerating, with clear signs of a major US and allied build-up across the Middle East. At a US base in Jordan, at least 36 F-15E Strike Eagle fighter jets have been deployed. Each jet can carry heavy weapons, strike targets inside Iran, and return without refueling. These aircraft have played a leading role in intercepting Iranian drones and cruise missiles, including during previous attacks on Israel. More significantly, C-17 military transport planes have been arriving with weapons, equipment and ground crews, a sign the base is being prepared for sustained combat operations. Flight tracking data also shows dozens of US cargo aircraft moving into the region, along with additional fighter jets redeployed from RAF Lakenheath in the UK. At sea, the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group has moved from the Pacific into the Middle East and is now operating in the Arabian Sea with its tracking turned off. Air defences are being reinforced too. Patriot and THAAD missile systems have reportedly been deployed at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, echoing last year's build-up ahead of an Iranian missile response. At the same time, US forces have reduced their footprint at more exposed bases in Iraq and the Gulf. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says its forces are on high alert and warns the US and Israel against miscalculation.
حالا این آقا هم همینطور مرتباً ادعا میکنه ولی ما ناب آوردیم و چه کردیم. به نظر من ملت ایران رو از این چیزا نباید ترسوند. ملت ایران تحت تأثیر این حرفا قرار نمیگیره. از برخورد حق نمیهرازه. ما شروع کننده نیستیم. ما به کسی ظلم نمیخوایم بکنیم. به کشوری حمله نمیخوایم بکنیم. اما در مقابل اون کسی که طمع داشته باشه حمله بخواد بکنه اذیت بکنه ملت ایران مشت محکمی به او خواهد زد. این را هم آمریکایی‌ها بدونن که اگر این دفعه جنگی را بندازن این جنگ منطقه‌ای خواهد.
Praises and in glory to our power Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachak Kodash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be, wherever you may be. To you I say Shalom, Yasharal Shalom. All right, this is based on the news that we posted not too long ago, because we've all been watching what's going on, especially centered around Iran. All right, those what in the Persians, right? Persians, I mean these modern day Iranians. And there's a particular thing I want to get down below, but we'll see what else is up here, because this is what Cometh was saying in the speech right before this. Going into that last clip there. So as of February the 1st, 2026, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has warned that any military attack by the United States would trigger a full-scale regional war in the Middle East. This threat follows a heavy buildup of U.S. naval forces in the Gulf and intense rhetoric from President Donald Trump regarding the violent crackdown on widespread anti-government protests in Iran. Right, which we know, well, we can't say for sure, but that was probably fueled from, America and the state of Israel, okay, trying to kind of overthrow Khamenei. But anyways, it says current situation and key developments. Direct threat. Khamenei stated on February the 1st, 2026, which is what today, that if the U.S. initiates a war, this time it will be a regional war, indicating an expansion of conflict beyond a simple bilateral confrontation. U.S. military buildup. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and roughly 15,000 U.S. service members are positioned in the region. Okay, we're gonna skip this. Proxy network activation. Analysts warn that a regional war would involve the activation of Iran's axis of resistance, including Hezbollah in Lebanon and Houthi forces in Yemen. Potential for escalation. The situation is described as a high-risk scenario with potential for strikes on regional energy infrastructure, such as the Strait of Hormuz. And the negotiations, despite the warnings, some, including senior Iranian official Ali Larijani, have suggested that a structural framework for negotiations is progressing. Yeah. But here's the thing I want to get down to. Also, really jumping from the top to the bottom. Definition of a regional war. A regional war is characterized as a series of interconnected, mutually reinforcing conflicts among adjacent countries. Now, when you look at a map, you find Iran, you're going to see, immediately in the vicinity, I could think of Kuwait, of course, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, very closely, Jordan, there's a big portion there, state of Israel, maybe some other areas if you spread out more, but those are the ones that are closely, in the given region. And then once again, like I said, if you spread out more, there's more countries obviously to touch, because you can go east to the land of the stands, you can go south, which would take you towards India, which is also on the other side, more south of Saudi Arabia. You get the UAE, Yemen, Oman, okay, all those places there. And then further west, further north, Georgia, Armenia, Turkey, depending on how far, Syria, whatever, right? How far he's determining what region is going to really mean regional war. Now, of course, we know the microchip has to come first, but this is a talk of what the Lord is doing right now for World War III. A regional war is characterized as a series of interconnected, mutually reinforcing conflicts among adjacent countries. In the context of the current Middle Eastern crisis, it involves complex, multi-front meaning different battles there, and protracted fighting that draws in regional and international powers. And that's the key thing. It says multi-front and protracted fighting that draws in regional and international powers. So not only the general circumference from where they are, the general area, that region, but because people have aligned themselves with certain alliances, that's going to bring in the international powers, because this person backs this person, backs that person, this person backs this person, backs that person, and so on and so forth. And who backs the state of Israel? America. Okay, but Iran has their place on the other side as well. And we know, according to Ezekiel 38, it says that Russia is the backbone to all these different countries that are going to come against Babylon. All right, directly, because as the scriptures say, the least of the flock should draw them out, which are the so-called Israelis of the state of Israel. They're going to draw America into the conflict in which all the nations are going to pile up on them. See? Now I want to get something real quick. Just a couple verses there. All right, first one right here in Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. One woe is past, and these woes are talking about the world wars. All right, one woe is past, and behold, and there come two woes more hereafter. So World War I has passed. Okay, it says, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. Then you have to understand You might be like, well, Mike, Allah, how's this talking about World War II? Because you have to think about it. The time that John received this revelation of the future, there were no world wars. Okay, so he pretty much was speaking in past, present, and future tense in a sense. Because you had World War One, and then later you had to have World War II. So it says one woe is past. We're speaking about World War One. And behold, there come two woes more hereafter, World War II and World War III. And we know that World War I and II are already passed. Let's get Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, you see. So there come two woes hereafter, talking about the world wars. The first one is past. Now it's saying the second woe is past. And behold, the third woe cometh quickly. What is the third woe? It is World War III. We're in that time period. All right, where the Lord is about to put all the cards on the table. All right, they don't have the cards. Trump, right? No, the Lord has the cards. All right, the king's heart is in the hands of the Lord, and as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. He sends angels to work on the minds of these leaders of these nations. There's an example in Daniel, I believe it's Daniel 9. All right, where he talks about the prince of Persia withheld me, and so on and so forth. Okay. So the Lord sends angels to work on these minds of these leaders of these nations to do exactly what he wants, all right, to fulfill his will, like it says in Revelation chapter 17. Speaking about these shall hate the whore. All right. to do what? To fulfill the Lord's will. See? So yeah, this is what's happening right now. And let's get that real quick. Ezekiel, since we mentioned it, because they are over there. We'll get that real quick. Ezekiel 38. Yep. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of army, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. These are speaking about the Russians. When you read up above, verse 2, verse 3, Gog Magog, which is really just talking about Russia. And their leader at this point in time is President Vladimir Putin. Okay, so this is talking about Russia. Verse 5 says Persia. The modern day Persians are who? The Iranians. So the scriptures are telling us that Iran are going to be allied with Russia. We know Russia is also allied with China, India, and South Africa as the BRICS, as well as BRICS Plus, which are other nations that have joined up with them already, or which are called the plus countries, or they have applied for it and they're waiting to be accepted. Ethiopia and Libya with them, obviously in Africa, on that continent, and all of them with shield and helmets, all of them with their armors and their weapons. Gomer and all his bands, they also told them of the north quarters. That's over there, what we mentioned, Georgia, Armenia, all right, and the eastern portion of Turkey, all right. Georgia, Armenia, right there, what I call the boot of Russia, because Russia is the only thing north of that. So that's why it says on the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee, so all their men of war and their weapons and whatever they have. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all that company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. This is referring back to Russia. Be a guard unto those that we just mentioned in verses 5 and verses 6. See? So there you go. So this is what the Lord is doing right now. He's rolling out the table for everything, all the final prophecies, so that the time can be shortened, that we can be delivered. Lord willing, we be of that number. But I'm gonna leave it at that. Shalom.